Accusations that Donald Trump and his former lawyer made other hush money payments before the election. Well, now they are out. Michael Avenatti, you know this guy, lawyer for Stormy Daniels, tweeted this earlier. Breaking. Donald Trump conspired with Michael Cohen to pay off multiple other women prior to Election Day in 2016. They were also concerned about a pregnancy. Cohen has evidence and info in his possession, and it must be released to the public now. Cohen has already released a tape of his conversation with Trump about paying off a former Playboy playmate, and possible more tapes to come. While the Washington Post reports the government has now seized more than 100 recordings Cohen made of his conversations with people discussing matters that could relate to Trump and his businesses, and with Trump himself talking. With me now, the woman who truly knows best, Emily Jane Fox, senior reporter at Vanity Fair, who has been writing about Trump and Cohen. And I'm telling you, if you want to understand the inside skinny of the world of Michael Cohen, no one knows it better than this woman. I want to point out one thing. Yesterday, when President Trump was shocked and offended and amazed that Michael Cohen would have ever taped him, we should remind our audience, Trump's lying. Roy Cohn, his lawyer for years and years and one of his idols, he taped him all the time, or he taped conversations all the time, so Trump is well-versed in that behavior. Okie doke. Avenatti claims today he has new evidence about multiple payoffs. Do you think this is going to affect Cohen in any way? Like, this is just such a circular thing that I can't figure out where it's even going at this point.
I don't know that this would affect Cohen. Either this happened or it didn't happen. We have not seen any evidence of it. Perhaps it exists. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the entire world if there was perhaps other payments during the campaign, but Michael Cohen knows this. The government, which seized almost 4 million documents and files and electronic devices from Michael Cohen in April, knows this. And so if it exists, it will either be used as evidence against Michael Cohen or a way for Michael Cohen to cooperate if he goes that route. So I'm not really sure what value it would serve for Cohen for this to come out in advance of any of that. I understand that there's a value to the American people, but I'm sure that the American people will at some point find out whether or not that's true.
Just because there's 100 tapes, do we know if there's anything incriminating on them? Because President Trump, having a long career involving not paying contractors, going bankrupt over 4 times, he's figured out, don't sign your name on anything, don't write anything down. Do they really get any big whoppers in these tapes?
From what I understand, it's not necessarily what is on these recordings that could be damaging. It is the backstory behind the recordings, and that is what could make Michael potentially a very valuable witness if he chooses to cooperate, because he can provide some of the context that maybe is missing on some of these recordings. So for the one recording that we have of these 100 recordings, there's a lot of questions that were raised. We're not sure who is saying what or why anyone is saying something, but Michael Cohen can provide that context if he chooses to do so with investigators, and that is where his value could be as a witness.
What are people close to Cohen telling you about his headspace? Because when I think back to the campaign, there was not a more ardent supporter, outspoken surrogate for President Trump. Think back to some of the more ridiculous television interviews he did defending President Trump and saying he would take a bullet for him. It was as though he put Trump before all else in his life. Is he still there?
No. I would say it is a complete 180. I interviewed him last August, and that's when he said I would take a bullet for the president and for his family. That is not the sense I get right now. He would take a bullet for his family. He would do anything he could to get his family out of this situation. He's not only very frustrated and angry in watching his family suffer in a deep way, but he's in deep financial trouble as well. And so he has done a real turn in terms of where he is mentally, and I think that will be reflected in what he chooses to do going forward.
Take me to the Trumps, because you just wrote a book on the Trump family, specifically the Trump children. Mm-hmm. Why do you think we haven't heard from them? It's not like Ivanka Trump doesn't have a public presence. I see her, she's going on the road with the president today. She's on Twitter. If my dad was accused of adultery over and over again, Trump has denied it. Why do you think we haven't heard from them? Why wouldn't they get out there and say, my father would never do something like this?
Don't you remember when she was asked at the Winter Olympics about these sort of dalliances? She said, oh, that's not an appropriate question to ask a daughter. Now, she did say stuff after the Access Hollywood tapes, and the First Lady also came out and did a major interview after the Access Hollywood tapes. I think there is no upside for Ivanka personally.
But how could Ivanka say it's inappropriate to ask the daughter of the president? She has sat for interviews next to her father on the Howard Stern show as the president discussed her breasts.
You're asking me to explain something that is completely nonsensical.
Well, take me inside the House of Trump.
This is how Ivanka operates. She is someone who only does things that serve her. It doesn't necessarily serve the American people. It doesn't necessarily serve the women and children and families she's supposed to be helping out when she took her job in the West Wing. If it serves her brand and if it serves her father's brand, that is all that matters. And speaking out on these issues don't serve those two things. There's just no world in which she would say anything in this situation.
I just know that if suddenly all over the media it was reported that my dad was cheating on my mom and everyone knew it and it was with a playmate, I would sure as heck come out there and defend my dad's honor if, in fact, he hadn't have done anything.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.